Good evening. Educators are usually the first line of mentorship outside of our homes for many of our children. It is with great pride that the Median Society honors and gives a platform to a voice of citizens that at times gets left out of the discussion. Educators shape the future from the start of a child's school-infused life. So tell me, why is society so against them when they ask for more money, more supplies, and the very important task of security and safety? Median Society, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go. With a collective of 20 to 50 years of experience in the classroom, tonight's guests represent mentors, confidants, and at times the secondary parent. Tonight, we will explore how teaching has changed within the current pandemic. Tonight's guests, Shania Speller, Kyle Reimer, and Cheryl Burton. Thank you so much for coming into the Median Society, and we really appreciate having you guys to educate our audience and help them understand the way and reason that teachers ask for things and why they have to ask for things and how it is to teach under today's pandemic. Tonight's moderator is Ken, and we really appreciate having you all on the Median Society. Let's get started. So, let's talk about yourselves. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself. We'll start with Cheryl, and then Kyle, and then Shania.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Jordan, and I am currently in Palm Beach County, Florida. I'm in mostly special education, reading, and intensive reading. Recently received my master's in educational leadership, so I'm just finished up our district program, and I'm about to step into, assistant principalship here, hopefully in the next year or so. My passion is for literacy. I've seen too many students fall through the cracks, especially minority students. And so that is why I do what I do every day, is to help those students that may not receive as much support.
Okay. And Kyle?
My name is Kyle Reimer. I teach at Manassas Park Middle School in Manassas Park, Virginia. We are a relatively small division, only about 2.5 square miles. I'm in my 6th year of teaching there, and along with being my own classroom teacher, I also am the department chair for the ESOL department. So English is English for speakers of other languages, if you're unfamiliar with the acronym. My division is heavily Hispanic Latino. In terms of students, we're about 70%. And for my specialty of ESOL, I reach 47% of the students. My department does. So we are a pretty ESOL heavy population. And in terms of how I do it, I'm very big on the relationship aspect, like Cheryl said, with closing gaps, and Anthony, like you said, with being that second parent, quite literally being that second parent or being the parent. So I work more on relationships than I do on content. Content comes second to relationships and social, emotional learning, and all of that. So that's pretty much what I focus on.
Cool. Okay, and Shania?
Hi. I have been teaching since 2007. I was originally teaching as a professor, and the last few years I've been teaching in middle school, 6th through 8th. I currently teach 8th grade ELA. I think they said it best. It's really about the relationships. If somebody in that 6th through 8th grade age doesn't trust you, you're not going to teach them anything. So it's more about rapport, building relationships. And then secondly, I say, hey, and we have to learn how to speak English properly as well.
Thank you so much for coming on. Okay, let's dive into these questions. There's so much information that you guys can share as instructors, educators in today's time. Teaching in the pandemic. None of us have thought, even in just working in the pandemic. I work in biomedical, and so does Ken, and you guys being teachers in the pandemic have been hit extremely hard. And we want to let the audience understand what it's like a day in the life for you guys under this type of circumstance. So what's been the hardest part of this for each of you? Kyle?
For me, it's so my division is completely virtual right now. We did start hybrid in November with like preschool and kindergarten. It lasted 2 days and then they shut it down. So we are Zoom 24/7. But for me, the hardest part is one, the lack of faces. We don't require our students to turn their cameras on. One, mostly because it affects internet speed so much. So I could walk past any of my students in Walmart and not know who they are, which is a pretty sad thing. And I tell them all the time, doesn't change anything, but I let them know that I want to see their faces. Second, I would say is attendance. There are a considerable number of students, I think, who fall through the cracks, and we make every attempt to contact their parents, or we do home visits. I've gone on many home visits since September, but just trying to get them to attend class. And my other thing is just getting work turned in from students. They might attend class, but when push comes to shove, they'll either not being able to see their faces. I don't know if they're actually sitting in my Zoom class. They're present for all in definitions of the word. But yeah, getting that work done is those are my top 3 struggles, I think.
Gotcha. Good. Cheryl?
So to kind of piggyback off of what he said, we teach face-to-face as well as virtual. So it definitely is very challenging. The challenging part is the monitoring piece, monitoring those students that, like he was saying, you don't know if they're really, actually actively engaged. So we're having to be, I'm our 7th grade ELA team leader, having to collaborate with my team and come up with strategies and come up with, even incentives to get them to the online students to participate. Because it's easier to monitor students when they're sitting in front of you, right? But then, when you're seeing, because we use Google Meets, we don't use Zoom. And sometimes you're just looking at, mostly circles on the screen. So it's very challenging. And then, like he said, having the work turned in. And then, we're still required to teach to the standards, and our state is still going to do state assessments. So it definitely is very challenging right now.
Okay. And Shania?
I'll say that I agree with everything that was said. We are completely virtual this year. We have not had the opportunity to go into the class. I am a teacher that I feel like the smallest incentive helps. So I was always a teacher that threw Starburst into the class for right answers. You can't do that in a virtual setting. I tried to give out Amazon gift card or 2 for the person who did the most assignments, but that gets pretty costly. And I'll say I'll add an aspect, my students, as well as me being a parent, sometimes you just don't know what's going on the other side of that camera. I've seen adults come in with gifts. I've seen adults come in roughhousing. I've heard children say, I have to go to the store right now. I didn't have lunch at home. So those things that surround them is a big barrier in teaching right now in a completely virtual setting.
I know that I have a 5-year-old who's in kindergarten, and the distance learning itself has got to be tough. The accountability and maintaining focus. Are you guys finding very much the same thing with your classes and everything like that? Let's go with Cheryl first. Yeah.
Yes. Also, when you're talking about the focus, because my population, my demographics is the special ed students. So focus is definitely an issue. But like I was saying, it's easier for me to help get the kids back refocused when they're in front of me. But when they're behind the circles, they might be playing video games. They might be watching television, and I have no idea, you know. So yes, I agree, sir. That's correct.
Okay.
Kyle or
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So accountability, yes, huge thing. Unfortunately, my division has purchased an application called Go Guardian. So I am able to, if my students are using a school issued device, I'm able to see what they're doing on their computer, so long as they remain active. So I can like open tabs and close tabs if they are playing a game. We used to use a software called Land School, which was really cool because I could actually control the kids' computer. So if they were playing a game, I could, accidentally make them fall off the cliff if they were playing one of those rolly games, and it was actually kind of entertaining. But it's only it's only as useful as if the student is using the school issued device. If they join Zoom on their phone, then I can't do much about that. And working with English language learners, I have students who just registered 2 weeks ago, and they are in grade level content classes, as well as a newcomer language arts class. But I mean, a lot of them don't have computer literacy. Coming from Central America, there are several multi-year gaps in their education. So fortunately, when they come in and to pick up their device and get their schedule from our from our counselors, I am usually there to walk them through. We use Canvas for our learning management system. So I walk them through, I show them all their Zoom links, crossing my fingers that teachers consistently use or set up their courses the same way. But yeah, it's a struggle. It is.
okay. Shania?
So attention is an interesting thing. I think that attention of a 12 or 13-year-old, which is what I teach, is already very interesting. I had a young man right from the beginning, and he said, I can't focus with all these girls in the room. And it's a virtual room, right? In addition to that, I have seen students with baby sisters or brothers. I have, as I said, seen them going to the bodega, getting lunch. I have called a parent and said, "Well, I see your child and the lovely $100, $200 gaming chair that you purchased, but that's all I can see is his arm and his chair." And the parent has said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have to remove the video game." So those are attention is a huge thing. Not to mention, as a parent, when I do take my 10-minute breaks, I could see, my 6-year-old playing with her toes or, any number of things. When you think that you've taken all the barriers away, there still seems to be some sort of barrier there that grabs their attention. Thank you.
Interesting. So let's jump to this question. So how do you guys prepare each day to teach your class? I know it's different than you were doing before pandemic. So how do you do it? Let's start with Shania.
I wake up and well, before that, with my lesson plans, I try to grab every media resource that I think will kind of tie them into the lesson. I have an hour and 30-minute block with a 10-minute break in between. And I try to pack that with 3, 4 2-minute videos here and there.
Mhm.
I really try to connect with my students the best I can. Ask them, are you home? Who are you with? Are you the oldest? Are you the youngest? What is the demographics? Sometimes I try to really put myself out there, especially for my students that have siblings in the house, and tell them, I'm the oldest of 6 children. I
Mhm.
don't know what I would have done in a pandemic. And sometimes when you explain to them that it's okay for them to hear noise, just those simple things as meditating and making yourself vulnerable going into the class, it's really preparation for the day ahead.
Hmm. Okay. And Kyle?
So for planning, all of my plans are due a week in advance on Mondays. So I like that as a division and as a department, we are able to plan together. It's not always you having to create the videos and the lessons as your own. You work with your team. You share the responsibility. So by having just that skeletal plan due on Monday really helps, because then I know I have the rest of the week to kind of build those resources, find those videos, make the Google Docs or Google assignments, what have you. And then we at minimum have to have our Monday asynchronous lesson posted by Friday at the end of the school day. So that students have the opportunity to work on it over the weekend. If they know, Monday I have to go translate at the lawyer for my parents. So I know I won't have time to do asynchronous work on Mondays. But like Shania said, it's a lot of just kind of reassuring the kids throughout the lesson and building that time in. I try to honestly I have 75-minute blocks. I probably only directly teach the students. I try to keep it under 35 minutes so that they have the remainder of that time to work on the work that's due. So when we close Zoom, they're done with it. Because I know once they close Zoom, they have 15 minutes before their next class, and that's where their brain is, and they're not going to think about my class again for 2 days until they see me the next time. So homework out the door. I've never been a fan of homework in my classes anyways, but it's kind of just solidifying that kind of groundwork of I can manage without homework. I would rather see them be able to do what little I ask them to do, and do it well. Because in language learning, it's not, can you do it 12 times? It's, can you do it once very well?
Gotcha.
And we're actually starting our testing season for our language assessment to meet federal guidelines. So we're prepping for that. It's a long marathon.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Okay, Cheryl?
Okay, so like I told said earlier, we use Google Classroom, Google Meets, and our we have to turn our lesson plans in like 2 weeks. So it's every 2 weeks that we turn in our lesson plans, and things can change. We follow our district, scope and sequence as far as the standards. We do collaborative planning, but not where we're all teaching the exact same thing at the exact moment. It's more of a collaboration of our resources. And because we're online, we use a lot of online engagement programs like Pear Deck and Nearpod, and pulling from a lot of media resources, videos, and we have to post our agendas every day. So basically, like if we were in the physical classroom, oh well, when we do in the physical classroom, we have to post our objectives, So we have to do basically that same thing in our Google Classroom. Um, Especially if students miss class, and we also have to record our classes. So we record our classes every single day, post it for those students that might miss class. So that was actually part of our, that's a requirement that they set up with the school board and our union. So preparation time, again, it's, to me, it's a fluid document because things might change, you know. And I'm actually enjoying, I'm in the positive that I've taken from this pandemic is I feel like it's made me a better teacher, in the fact that my other teachers here on Zoom can attest that, you know, what we did 2 years ago, you know, we can't do that now. We have to tweak it, and we have to, you know, out. But the main thing is that we stick to our standards, so that we have to ensure that our students are mastering the standards. So whatever that might look like, you know, we do whole group lesson. We have 55-minute block scheduling. So usually the whole group is about the first 15, 20 minutes. And then the students are, you know, like Kyle was saying, you know, they must do the work then, because getting homework from the students, well, you know, you got to think they've been online all day, right? They've been online all day. And then once they've been online working all day, then you want them to do all this extra work after. And it's, you know, there has to be some, you know, some compromise in that. So. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. The compromise needs to be done. Earlier, you had mentioned something about infrastructure, and I was curious, with everybody being online, how much does infrastructure play a part in the problems that might arise? How do you kind of overcome those? Let's start with Kyle.
So fortunately, we've been kind of one-to-one for as long as I've been in the division. It's been a slower rollout, grade level by grade level. But as the pandemic started hitting in March, we wrapped up and got, you know, preschool, kindergarten, and first grade their laptops. Everyone else already had them. Then it became an issue of, okay, internet access. And we were awarded a grant from Lockheed Martin to help with that. And so we have a huge number of hotspots available for parents to come and pick up. And we have how do I say this? We have homes that have multiple families in them. So we have families that might just be renting a bedroom or two out of a 6-bedroom house. So even those hotspots, though, if we have a family who's renting a house or an apartment in the basement, they definitely are still affected by slow internet speeds. And that's why I personally do not ask. I don't require them to turn their videos on, because I know, besides being an uncomfortable, like, oh, I don't want you to see the conditions I live in, but also if that's going to prevent them from being able to attend my lessons because their internet is so slow, I don't want to require that. But yeah, so I think I'm fortunate with infrastructure to not have as many hangups as I think other areas do.
Okay, I got you. Cheryl, how about you?
So within our infrastructure, we're our district actually, I don't remember how many years it was. They started put smart boards in every class. Like their goal was every teacher would have one in the classroom. So we had our smart board before the pandemic. We had it like a couple years ago. So the smart board has been it's been our best friend. And then each student has their own computer, has their own laptop, and the district, you know, provided that. But as Kyle was saying, you know, my other issues that I forgot to touch on earlier was when the parents not being home and the students are responsible for getting online and going from, you know, as a middle school, going from class to class to class. And, you know, for our ESE, for our special ed students, you know, that's been challenging because they might go 3 periods and decide they're done, right? They're done for the day. So definitely, but the infrastructure is definitely, that's not an issue, thank goodness. It's just a matter of them getting on and actually doing the work.
Oh, okay. That's good. Good. Shania?
So we've been very fortunate to, at the beginning of the pandemic in March, we had one computer to each family. We now have one computer for each student. I will say that the accessibility is there, but unfortunately, there are parents have to pick up. So we have a lot of parents who are still working through the pandemic. We have students who have a computer waiting at the school, but their parents haven't been able to take a day off during the times when the school is open to actually get the computer. We also have students who have a computer and a hotspot, but they are being told they have to move, or things like that. So how well does the computer and the hotspot do when you're actually riding around in a car with your mom trying to find a home to live in? So I think that's the real hardship of everything, even with having the accessibility to the computers.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Very true. Okay. No, that was good to know, because we know that some districts across America are pushing forward and they're trying to put the teachers in that realm of the first responders and the nurses and things like that. So they should, all healthcare, they look at them as healthcare providers to some degree. So it is good to know that your districts are trying to push for you guys to have a successful rollout of a vaccine. So before we get off of this particular section, how are parents responding to you guys during this time? Just in general, how are the parents in this part of the of COVID era? Kyle?
I will give my 100% support to parents. I think that the majority of them are doing everything they possibly can to get their students to sign on to class, to do the work. We make parent phone calls all day long. My parent liaison, who is kind of our translator, she works, I think she gets like 7 hours a day that she gets to work. And I would say for at least 6 of those hours, she is on the phone, making those phone calls, reaching out to parents to make sure that they understand the importance of their students getting on to Canvas and getting onto Zoom. But for the parents that I see in person when they come into the office, they're very appreciative of all the hard work that's gone into what we're doing. They see a huge difference between what was thrown together from March to June and what's been implemented since August. And I mean, as a teacher, I see the difference too. I mean, I went from, being on Zoom for like 2 hours a day in March through June to now being on there like 6 hours a day. So they're definitely seeing the difference in the quality of education. They're much more appreciative of it. And selfishly, I think that they're kind of getting a taste of what their students are like in the classroom, which I don't want to say is rewarding from a teacher perspective, but it's a good eye-opening experience that I think every parent should see.
Yeah. Cheryl?
Yeah, I'm laughing over here, Kyle, because I had a couple parents, and remember I service the ESC, the special ed population. I had a mom back in April when we, like you said, it was an emergency situation, right? When we went home, and we communicated, and she says, Miss Burden, I just don't know how you've done it. I just don't understand. She says she won't do anything, and I'm about to lose my mind. And I'm thinking to myself, welcome to my world, And so she has sent me, I mean, I can't tell you how many times this particular parent has reached out to me, thanking me for all of what I've done, because I rolled over my seventh graders that I had they have they looped with me from sixth grade, so they're the same students, which is great. And then I've had a few parents that are just like, you all at that school are saints, to do what you do and to do it so well. So it definitely has been eye opening to the parents as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Shania?
Well, I think that my experience is a little different. I have the full realm. We call parents all day, every day. And I have parents that love to speak to me. I have parents that will try to talk to me the whole day. And I also have parents who have blocked me, um, who have, who will put me through to voicemail and text me and say, I'm at work, remember?
Wow.
So I have the full range of parents and parental experiences in there.
Hmm.
Wow. I'm sorry. That's wow. Um, the question I'm curious about is the supplies. Do you find any problems with the supplying your students or yourselves with the appropriate textbooks or supplies or tools needed to do what you guys need to do? Shania?
Um, so fortunately, the students all have textbooks. And we actually took care of the problems with them going to multiple links that my whole eighth grade team actually teaches on the same link. So I'm able to see that they have their math books, science books. The problem is the smaller things that you look for parents to provide. So many parents don't understand that put all the crayons in one box and then give everybody a red, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
somebody has three different reds in a 64 a crayon box, and some other student just has eight crayons, and the red kind of looks orange, and you want to give them equal access. um, so we have so many students that can't get a book for every class, can't get a notebook for every class. Sometimes you see a younger sibling like literally grab a pencil from their hand, and they, run, and they're running through the house now, because and you're really scared that they don't have another pencil. And I sit here with my
Wow.
boxes and boxes of pencils and all my notebooks that I brought in the summer, because I knew that they did not have notebooks and pencils. And I hoped to buy them and be able to go into the class and give it to them. But that's the things that they don't have. They don't have protractors and rulers. And sometimes looking at the teacher use a protractor or a ruler, or even seeing me write on a whiteboard, is just not enough.
Right. Uh, Understandable. Cheryl, you want?
Yes, our district, we've been blessed and lucky that um, our district has allocated, they call it lead money for each teacher. So we're allocated a certain amount of money, and we can use that. Um, and actually, they added PPE as well on
Okay.
top of that. So it's streamlined. We do it through a website. There's links to all of the different stores that we can use, and if we use a store that's not in that particular platform, then we can submit our receipts and we get reimbursed a certain
Hmm.
amount. So I haven't had any. I haven't seen that there's a lack as on that end. But I do see, as far as when the students, sometimes, they might not have, earbuds or headphones. So what I did with part of my lead money was I purchased those to make sure that if they came in the classroom, that they would have, those that are face to face, that they had the earbuds. Now they're not the Apple iPods, but they do the job. You get what I'm saying?
Yep,
Absolutely.
yep.
They're sufficient. So I tell them, if they come in, they say, well, or even if they left them at home, I say, well, you might have left your iPods, but I got a $5 pair right here for you. So our district has been really helpful with our resources.
So before we get out of here, there's some things I want to ask. So what what can we as a society do to help these districts and help teachers better take care of the students? Because there's only so much you guys can do financially. There's only so much you can do ethically and professionally. So what is it that society, what do you guys as educators think that we can do as a society and as people to make it better for these students? You could start, Shania.
Honestly, I really wish that teachers were able to pour out their crayon boxes just like we do for the students. I moved back to Philadelphia, and thanks to gentrification, the school that my kids attend is greatly different than the area and the school was when I was a child. When I go into their teacher's class, they have gobs and gobs of dry erase markers and whiteboards because um, the parents are now teachers, as I am, or doctors, or we even have a newscaster whose child attends beside my child, and we bring those things in. And she says, please don't send any more glue sticks. When I am in fact saying, please send anything that you can send in. And she writes a nice letter home to say, thank you, we have enough tissues to last us the rest of the year, and I'm begging, please send in more tissues, because as a matter of fact, the tissues that we had in the bathroom, our students put them in their pockets and
Mm,
took them home.
mm.
So I really just wish there was a big teacher box that we could do, just like we do for the students, and just dump all those resources in, and everybody could come and grab what they needed out of that box.
Well said. Kyle?
Um, the only thing I could think of when I was thinking of this question was just to continue supporting teachers the way that we support our our the parents' students. It's it's literally taking a village right now to raise any one child, and I think everyone involved is realizing that everything can't fall on the parents' shoulders, everything can't fall on the teacher's shoulders. We really do have to work together for this. We all said that parents are praising us. Shania said that parents are blocking her, um, but we have to work past that. Parents have to understand that we have a job to do, just like they have a job to do, just like their students have a job to do. And I tell my students that all the time. I said, your only job right now is to be you and a student. I mean, there will be bumps in the road. That's fine. Things will get distracting. You'll want to do this instead of that. But your job right now, if you could get paid, it would just be to be a student. So I, yeah, just keep supporting us. We'll keep supporting your child, and everything else will be okay.
Awesome. And Cheryl?
For me, as I was thinking about the question, you know, and Kyle was saying it takes a village. It definitely takes a village, but it also takes, with the village, is the community. And I think if a lot of the businesses, would come in, like they're supposed, the, some of the businesses would come in and maybe do some more donating to the schools. That would definitely help. I worked at a school, it was a Title I school some years back, and the principal really worked the community, and she worked the different businesses that was in the general vicinity. And I can tell you how much was donated to those students. You're talking backpacks, and I'm not talking about cheap backpacks. I'm talking about like Vera Wang backpacks. I mean, it was just, we just got flooded. It was a flood. The floodgates were open, and she knew how to network, for her school. And, Is that the answer for every school? I don't know, but I just think that you have to think outside the box. There's no cookie cutter way that we're going to make it, especially now that things have transitioned, and we're education is at a different place than it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to think differently, and we have to be more creative about how do we get those supports.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your thoughts and helping the audience understand a bit more about the day in the life of what you guys are going through in today's pandemic. It's sad, and I really feel bad from the perspective that society comes down on you guys, and they come down as if you guys are just whining about things. And I mean, I listen to the things on TV and just how these people, even on the radio, sometimes when I'm driving out, and I'll hear people complain because the teachers are outside doing a protest or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, hey, they have a right to do the same thing. They're just wanting to make the environment better so they can continue to do a good job for your students. And I want our audience to understand, when I designed this show, I wanted them to understand how it is, what it's like to be a teacher and what they're lacking, So you heard from 3 different educators, and they're in different parts of the United States, whether it's in Virginia, Philadelphia, Florida. They all have the same heart and compassion for students, and they want the student to learn in the best possible circumstance and situation possible. And all of them don't have control of the circumstances, the pandemic. They're all doing the best that they possibly can, and they need your help. Continue being great parents. Continue reaching out to your school board. Continue reaching out to your district and help them, let them know that you want to be that parent that can assist them and help them to help the district become better. It takes all of us as taxpayers, as just civilians, and as just leaders in society to make it better for our teachers. Remember, there is no scientist, there is no lawyer, there is no doctor without the beginning of a teacher in elementary, middle, and high school. You have to have them in order to be what you want to be later on in life. They're mentors, they're confidants, they're people that love your kids. They love education, and they love the factor that they get to educate the next generation for tomorrow. Thank you so much for viewing the Media Society. If you want to continue talking to us, don't hesitate to reach out to us on Facebook or YouTube. You can reach out on Facebook at KA Middle Society, or you can be on YouTube and just go The Media Society, and you can start a conversation there. Thank you so much. We're out.